Hello all, welcome to the channel DevOps Tech Stack. I hope you all are doing safe and sound. Thank you all for sticking around and showing your love on the previous two videos of DevOps preparation with me. So today I'm going to start day 3 video on this playlist where I'm going to share with you all the part 1 of the important Linux scenario based questions for the DevOps engineers. And don't worry, I will share all the answers practically with you guys. Without any further delay, let's quickly get started. So these are very important questions and you will definitely get these questions in your next interview or basically the different versions of it. But the concept remains same, which I will be showing you today. So let's start with the set of questions. First question in my list is, what could be the possible reason if user is not able to SSH into the remote machine? For my use case, I have just created one EC2 instance over the AWS cloud, and when you go to your instances, I have just created it. Just select this particular instance, click on connect, and you will see that these are the information or these are the steps by which you can connect to this machine using the SSH protocol. So this is basically the key name, or this is the public key. Using this public key, you are allowed to SSH into this remote machine, right? So you need to make sure that when you downloaded this particular PEM key or the public key, you need to make sure that this particular permission is being set on this particular file. That is, we are setting the permission as 400, right? So this is a very important criteria. First, you need to see when your SSH is not working, right? Apart from that, you can see more configuration level changes also. All the configuration level things are placed inside a directory, that is the etc directory. So you are looking for the SSH thing, right? So you need to go inside the SSH directory, and inside that there is one configuration file called as the sst_config, where you are placing all the configurations related to the SSH protocol, right? So you just open this particular file, or okay, and you will see that there are many parameters which you have mentioned in this particular file, and that is the system level changes. You have not done anything over here, but if you want to do something manually, you are allowed to do this change using the root user, right? So what you need to see, that whether your SSH protocol is listening on the port 22 or not, whether you are allowing the IPv4 address to log in into this particular instance or not. Apart from that, what you need to see, here you can see few more information, that whether your public key authentication is set to yes, because someone can manually modify it. So you need to verify all these things. Apart from that, this is the authorized key file. By default, all the public key information goes inside this particular directory, that is .ssh, and inside that you have a file called as authorized_keys, where you need to place all the key information. So you need to see whether your default path of the key is same or not. If it is not same, then you need to again cross check this part. Apart from that, what else you can check over here, that whether your password authentication is set to no or yes, and few more configurations are also there, like permit root login, whether root user are allowed to log in into this instance or not. Apart from that, if you want to set manually for some particular user, then in that case you have some configuration called as deny users. And here, if you give deny users kritika, means kritika user can't log in or can't do SSH into this particular machine. Apart from that, if you want to allow for some user, then you have the configuration allow users, and then let's say I have a user called as DevOps. So like that, you can give here the username for which you want to set the manually permission over this particular instance. If you want to just without saving, I will get out of this particular VIA editor, shift : Q semicolon, then just it. Right? We are out of this particular VIM editor of this particular configuration. Apart from that, also you have one more directory called as var empty directory. Inside that, you have one directory called as the SSD directory, right? You need to see what permission are being set on this particular directory. It always need to be like this. If it is something else, you need to verify that whether the permission on SSD directory is correct or not. What is this value basically? If you do the ls-latr, you will get these many output over here, right? So what is this? The first D stand for that this is a directory, okay? Then the first three flags, right, that is RWX, refer to the permission for the owner of this particular directory. So owner of this directory is having read, write and execute permission. For the group of this particular user, they are having they are not having the read and write permission, but they are having the execute permission. Same for the Vault also, it is not having the read and write permission, but execute permission is there. So these are few of the things which you need to explain in your interview, that these are the things which I am going to check if the SSH connectivity is not working on the remote server, right? Let's come to the next question. The next question is, what is the difference between systemctl start and systemctl enable? This is a very important question because it might get confused that what is the difference between these two basically. Okay, so let's say you are running a CentOS machine, right? And I will ask you how you are managing the services on that particular system. So you are going to use the systemctl commands using systemd to manage all the services on your Linux server or on your Linux box, right? So if you go to this particular instance, here I have one service called as Docker. I have installed Docker on this particular machine. And if I want to see, always if you install Docker on your machine, it will be running as a service, right? So to check the status of your service, you need to put the command systemctl status Docker. Okay, right? Currently it is inactive, means Docker is not running on this particular machine. But if you want to start this particular Docker service, then you have the command called as the systemctl start Docker, right? And same way you have one more command called as the systemctl enable Docker. So what is the difference between these two? So systemctl start is the one-time event, but systemctl enable is like systemd will start the service by default during the boot up time. Whenever you are booting the machine for the first time or every time you are booting the machine, this service will automatically be started if you have enabled this service. A start is just the one-time event. It will not start the service by default every time when you run the machine or start the machine again and again. It will not by default start this Docker service, right? Now, let's come to the next question in the same go, right? How will you debug the service if it is failing while starting? Let's say you are trying to start this particular service, that is Docker service. I want to start it, right? But somehow I am not able to start this Docker service. So where you are going to check the error or where you are going to check the log service is not starting, like that, how you can check it? So if you see the status first, currently you can see that it is in the active state, it is running. So there is no problem with the Docker configuration. I am able to start it. But what if I am not able to start it? Then in that case, you have one command called as the journal-ctl. And then after that, you need to pass some flag like -x EU and then the service name. Enter. So you will see all the log or all the detail. You just need to put enter. For the next line, you can put enter. Since nothing is there, I think like this, you can see all the service log. If something is failing over here, you can see all the log in this particular page. And this is the first entry point where you need to see if some service you are not able to start it. Apart from that, if you don't know what are these flags, then you have one page or you have one command called as the man. Inside the man page, you can see all the different flags. What are they? All the commands information you can see in the detail. For example, I want to see for the general CTL, what are the different flags available with this particular command. Again, you just need to hit enter. And here you can see different flag and what are they, all the things in detail. Here you can see -A, -F. Like that, you can read and you can analyze which particular flag you can use in your case if you don't remember it. But basically, you need to remember the command that is called as the general CTL. Apart from that, every flag you can't remember it, but you can use the man page, right? This is done. Let's come to the next question. The next question is, let's say you get an alert on your production server that your particular file system is having high disk usage. So how you are going to debug that particular issue? So what your approach will be? The very first thing what you are going to run or very first command what you will run is the df-h command. What is the df command? Df file df command basically shows you the file system usage in your Linux server. -h is for the human readable format. You can see these are in the human readable format, 33 gigabyte, like that. You can see all the information over here. These are the file system name. These are the file system which are available on your Linux box. These are mounted on these particular directories. What is the total size? How much is available? How much is the use percentage? All the information you can see using the df-h command, right? Apart from that, there is one more command called as the du-sh command. If you want to see all the file size, whatever the files are there in the var log directory, you want to see the size of all those files, then in that case, you can use the du-sh command to see that. Here you can see, right? In the var log, we have these many files and the size is this, like that. You can see all the information using the du-sh command, and this command also comes handy and you need to remember it to see which file is taking how much space. Like that you can recognize why your disk space is almost full. All right, so I hope now you are clear with this particular information. Let's come to the next question now. What kind of issues can prevent you creating a file inside a specific directory? So there is no one answer for this one. It can be because of your disk space or your file system space is almost full and you're not able to create a new directory inside that particular directory, right? Or it can also be possible if you have create incorrect permission or ownership on that particular directory where you are trying to create a file. So those permission basically you can check using the ls-latr command. This I already explained you. Here you need to see the permission, whether what the permission is there for the owner, what is the permission for the group, what is the permission for the other world. This way you need to identify the permission, whether you have the permission to create a file inside this particular directory or not. For example, here I am logged in with the root user and root is the owner of this particular directory. So I am allowed to create any file inside this directory. But any other user who is trying to create a file inside this directory, it is not allowed because read and write permissions are not allowed for the group and other. All right. So this is the concept behind this particular question, right? Apart from that, there is one more important question, that is, what are the inodes basically? So inodes are nothing but it is like a file-based data structure that holds metadata about all the files in the system, right? But if you run this df-h command, right? If you run this df-h command, it is not showing you the inode value over here. But if you run df-ih, I stand for the inode, you can see in these file system you have these much space that are being occupied by the inode. So inode is just a file based data structure that holds the information or the metadata about all the files in your system. So this is what you are seeing, that because of these many data structures information, this much space is occupied in your file system. This way you can identify, right? Apart from that, let's come back to the next question. What is the difference between soft link and the hard link? This is a very important question. There are two type of link basically in the Linux box, that is the soft link and the hard link. What are the difference between them? Let's understand this practically. First, let's get back to the home directory. If you do like cd, then the tilde sign, you will be inside the home directory. If you do pwd over here, you are inside the home directory for the root user. So what is the soft link? In Linux, a soft link is also called as a symbolic link. It is a special sort of file that points to a different file. It is just like a shortcut how you create in the Windows machine. So because the connection is the logical one and it is not the proper duplication of the files, the soft links can point at entire directories or the link to the file on the remote computers, right? So this is basically the soft link. How you can create a soft link, I will show you. Let's try to create a file called as touch.a.txt. What is touch basically? Touch create an empty file in your Linux box. So if you want to create a soft link for this particular a.txt, or better we will just first create a directory over here, mkdir, y, just creating a random directory. Go inside this particular directory, do ls-latr over here. You will see nothing much is there in this particular file. Now we will try to create one more file over here. touch a.txt inside this particular directory. If you do ls over here, you will see that a.txt it is showing. Now we want to create a soft link for this particular a.txt. How to create it? For that you have the command called as the ln-s. Then after that you need to write the a.txt. With what name you want to create the soft link for a.txt? I want to create it with asoft.txt. Hit enter. Do ls-latr again. Sorry. So you will see that a underscore soft.txt, it is showing that it is the soft link of this a.txt file. If you delete this a.txt file, then this soft link is not of any use because it is just pointing to this particular file. It is not having any content for this particular soft link, right? So it is not like the copy, but it is just pointing to some other file in your directory. Why you want to create the soft link? So sometimes it happens like you have some huge file which is placed in some other directory, right? But you want to access them in some another file system. Then in that case, instead of doing the copy of that particular huge file, you can point that to the existing file system wherever it is placed. There you can directly point it instead of just doing the copy to the another file system. That is a lengthy process, right? So that's why we create a soft link basically. And here you can see that I have entered the command called as the I flag also I am passing over here, right? So you can see that a.txt is having different inode number, and then the soft link is also having a different inode number. But here comes the difference between the hard link and the soft link. In hard link, it is basically the equivalent to the file stored in the hard drive. It is just like a mirror copy of the original file. Even if you delete the original file, it will not have any impact on the hard link file. Here what happened? If you delete this particular file, this particular link will not have any use. But in case of hard link, what happens? In case of hard link, even if you delete the original file, it will not have any issue. The hard link will still work. How to create a hard link? For that, you have command ln and -s you don't need to pass. Then a.txt, and I want to create a hard link with the name b.txt, for example. Do again ls-laitr, hit enter. You will see that b.txt it is showing over here, and this is having the same inode number with the like the a.txt, but in case of soft link the inode number was different. So I hope now you are clear with the concept of the hard link and the soft link, why we need to create it and what is the difference between them. Now let's come to the next question, that is, what are the zombie process? If you run the top command over here, top give you basically the real-time statistics of your Linux server. That is how your Linux server is performing, what all commands are running onto your system, again how many tasks are running onto your system, how many of them are in the running, sleeping, stopped, or in the zombie state, how much CPU is there, how much memory is there, how much memory in the swap is there. So how many users are logged in, how much is the load on your system, from what time this particular system is up. Like that, you can see multiple information over here using the top command. So there you can see one process state called as the zombie process. What are the zombie process basically? So it is called as the dead process in the Linux, and these process basically has finished their execution, but somehow the entry remains in the process table because it was not able to communicate properly with the parent process. It has sent the signal to the parent process that my job is done, but somehow the parent process has not killed it yet. So you can see all those process in the zombie state. Okay. So this is just the definition part of it, like what is the zombie process that you might get in the interview. They will ask you. So let's get back to the next question. How to change the default shell for all the users on your remote machine. So what is shell basically? If you run this particular command over here, you will see which shell you are currently using. So I am saying that I am using the bin bash shell. What if I want to change the default shell for all the users who are trying to log in inside this particular machine? So in that case, you have one path. So all the configuration, as I told, it is inside the etc directory, right? So inside that you have one subdirectory called as the default, and inside that you have one more subdirectory called as the user add. Sorry, not subdirectory, a file called as the user add. And here you will see that this is the shell which is coming by default. If you want to change it to something else, you can just go and change it over here. So this way you can change the default shell of your Linux box for all the users who are trying to log in inside this particular machine. Okay. Now let's come back to the next question, that is the, let's say you got an alert that a particular process is running from past 2 hours. What actions you will take in this particular case? So this is a very good question, and it requires a good troubleshooting skill. So you need to tell your interviewer that this is the step which I will be following if I am getting these kind of alert. The very first thing what you are going to do, you see using the top command which all processes are currently running onto your system, and which process is taking maximum CPU, or what is the from what time this process is currently running. You can see the time and these things. These are the command. Let's say I am taking the example of this Java command. Somehow I have installed Jenkins on this particular machine, so Java is actually running. So this is the process ID. Whenever you start some process, it get a unique process ID assigned to it. So just copy the process ID of the Java process. So that is 695, right? So this is the process ID. The next thing what you can do, you can run the command called as the ps aux command, and then grep with the Java, because we want to analyze the Java process. So here you can see all the detail related to the Java process, which user has initiated, what is the process ID, what command it is running from by default, behind the scene which command this Java process is running, what is the port it is listening to. So all these information in detail you can see using the ps command. Again, for these flag information you can check the man page of the ps command, right? Now, if you want to see that with this particular process or with this particular Java process, how many files are opened in this particular Linux box, then again you have one command called as the lsof to see list of file opened by this particular process. So our case, we are checking for the Java. So Java process ID 695. So I will just hit enter, and you will see that these many files are currently being opened by this particular Java, right? So this way you can analyze or you can identify that which process, why this process is running from long back, who has initiated this particular process, how many files are opened by this particular process, and you are getting the alert because of that, right? So these were a few of the questions that I wanted to discuss today. I will come up with the next set of questions also in my part 2 video of this particular Linux interview question set, right? Thank you so much for sticking around and watching this video. I hope you guys are as excited as I am for making the fourth video on this playlist. Thank you again.